All right, ladies and gents. I briefly mentioned this in one of my recent videos, but we're talking about these Italian banks, Deutsche Bank. I mean, really the too big to fail banks, period. And all, for the while now, you haven't really heard too much about the American too big to fail banks. So it's been focused on Europe, Europe, Europe. However, there are two American banks that are topping a list, and this is a list you don't want to be on. It's not a good list. This means there might be some problems. Forget Deutsche Bank. Zerohead says these two American banks are now the most systemically dangerous in the world. Back in the summer, we wrote about an IMF report that flagged Deutsche Bank as the most important net contributor to systemic risks. See the link here. Deutsche Bank poses the greatest risk to the global financial system, says IMF. Those who read our site frequently or read our site frequently were likely not terribly surprised by the IMF's conclusion. Among the GSIBs, Deutsche Bank appears to be the most important net contributor to systemic risks, followed by HSBC and Credit Suisse. In turn, Commerzbank, while an important player in Germany, does not appear to be a contributor to systemic risks globally. In general, Commerzbank tends to be the recipient of inward spillover from U.S. and European GSIBs. The relative importance of Deutsche Bank underscores the importance of risk management, intense supervision of G-SIBs, and the close monitoring of their cross-border exposures, as well as rapid completing capacity to implement the new resolution regime. That's part of the article they talked about last time. That said, we suspect the latest ranking of global systemically important banks, known as the G-SIBs, or GSIBs, by the Financial Stability Board, may be a bit more surprising to our readers, among others, as it features two of America's largest banks right at the very top, the worst place you'd want to be. I was about to say I'll give you a silver coin if you could guess one of these two banks, and I would lose all my silver. I would lose all my silver if I said that, because you would guess one of the two banks without a shadow of a doubt. Citigroup and JP Morgan Chase. The next set. So those are the worst ones. Tell me if you've ever heard of these banks before. Bank of America, BNP Paribas, Deutsche Bank, HSBC. And there's some more below that as well that are not, that was, the lower you are on the list, the better. But the funny thing is, I'm seeing all of the too big to fails somewhere on this list. Why don't I see, such and such Federal Credit Union or such and such medium-sized bank, wherever you may live in America? Nope. It's just the too big to fails. And again, topping that list, JP Morgan Chase and Citigroup, followed closely by Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, PNB Paribas. Okay. Of course, Citigroup was quick to release a statement saying that its rise in the FSB list, quote, does not drive a binding capital constraint, end quote, on the bank, and that it's already subject to a higher 3% surcharge imposed by the U.S. Federal Reserve. While that may be true, any relative risk ranking that finds Citibank and JP Morgan more risky that Deutsche Bank has to be concerned. Let's try that again. While that may be true, any relative risk ranking that finds Citibank and JP Morgan more risky than Deutsche Bank has to be concerning to U.S. regulators. The FSB, or Financial Stability Board, was established after the global financial crisis in 2009 by the heads of state of the G20 nations with a mandate to promote financial stability. As such, the board ranks the 30 most systemically important financial institutions each year and assigns them to capital surcharge risk buckets based on a variety of risk measures. in this year's rankings, Citigroup, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo were the biggest losers and all face higher capital surcharges as a result. Meanwhile, London-based banks HSBC and Barclays all fared better in 2016's rankings. As Bloomberg has noted, Citigroup Inc., Bank of America Corp., and Wells Fargo & Co. all face higher capital surcharges after they rose in the FSB's latest ranking of the most systemically important banks in the world. Meanwhile, New York-based Morgan Stanley and London-based lenders HSBC Holdings and Barclays saw their buffer levels fall, and the FSB said in a statement on Monday. HSBC's capital surcharge falls to 2% of risk-weighted assets from 2.5%, while Citigroup's buffer rises to 2.5% from 2%, the FSB said. Barclays' surcharge falls to 1.5% from 2%, and Wells Fargo rises to 1.5% from 1%. And the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China surcharge rises to 1.5% from 1%. The drop in HSBC surcharge is positive for the lender and further enhances the capital return prospects in the long term, Citigroup analysts said in a note. Of course, all of this news was promptly dismissed by Wall Street, as investors haven't seen a bank stock they didn't want to buy since election night 2 weeks ago. That is a Big 10-4, because the markets have been rallying, and then rallying. And this isn't surprising. And I meant to ask Cliff High, I keep forgetting. I think I need to send him an email. Years ago, he was friends with a guy by the name of George Ure. They kind of had a falling out. I believe it was an issue with George, for sure, not Cliff. But anyways, before that happened, I recall him talking about Cliff, that I think he and George were, into the Webbot stuff, of course. And Cliff was, I think, arguing for why we would see $20,000 on the $20,000 on the Dow Jones before, like, this is years ago, and which is why now that I'm doing the video, I'm thinking of this, and I wish I would have thought about this earlier so I could have sent him the email, hopefully got a response, and then did the video. So I'm going to have to assume some things. But I thought he said we would see like a 20,000 Dow before the market crash, the next big crash would happen. And George Ure was arguing that it wouldn't be that high or something like that. And we're at 19,000 something Dow Jones right now, by the way. So that interests me, and I want to send him an email as soon as I'm done doing this video just to see what he says anyways. But what else can we talk about as far as markets rallying when they shouldn't, hitting all-time new highs when they shouldn't? Mr. Lindsey Williams. You are going to see the stock market rise. He talked about after that 2008-2009 crash, by the way. You are going to see the stock, I've been told by my elite friend, he says, you will see the stock markets rise. They're going to go up. You may be sitting back. People are going to sit back. I don't know if I trust it. They're going to go up some more. They're going to go up even more on top of that. They're going to go up again. And then they're going to go up again. And then again. And then again. He says, and it won't be until they get every last sucker back into that market. It won't be any day before that until they finally let loose. When they feel they've gotten every last sucker, they will let loose on the market. So I must ask you, since the crash of 08-09, has the market gone up? And he even said, Lindsey Williams even said, you're going to see it go up, and you're going to say, okay, it's at the top, it can't go up any higher. It's going to go higher. And then you're going to see that and say, that's got to be it. We're at an all-time high now. I don't know what I should do. It's going to go higher. And when you say it can't go higher again, it's going to go higher. until every last sucker is pulled into that market. That's what that man said. Never forget it. In fact, I don't know if I've forgotten anything Lindsay has said because he's been so accurate over the many years I've followed him. Only been since his friend died in 2012, which is a number of years now, where the information kind of like, I don't know about that. Lindsay, you said that last time. You said that last time too. What's new? And I'm kind of wondering myself, is it the end as far as Lindsey Williams' actual elite friend, real good information where he says this is going to happen and then it happens. There's going to be a Middle East uprising. It's going to start in Egypt. It's going to go to Yemen. It's going to go to Gaddafi in Libya. Then it's going to go to Syria and Saudi Arabia. We're going to give the Muslim Brotherhood to all these countries. And then when's that going to happen? 4 to 5 months, he says. And then 4 to 5 months it happened. And it went exactly in the order he said it would happen in to those countries. Right? Those days. Man, I wish I could bring back whoever, Ken Fromm, come back from the dead, buddy. We need you. Let's get John Podesta, let's get the Clintons and do a spirit cleansing, cooking, whatever they call that, and bring Ken Fromm back from the dead. That was his elite friend's name. Do a little spirit cooking or reverse cooking. How about a spirit cooling? Global warming, global cooling, spirit cooling. Bring Ken Fromm back from the dead. Ken, can you give us anything new, buddy? Nope. Good. It's off. So it's not surprising. $19,000 Dow. And I'm sitting here thinking, Cliff, I had this conversation a number of years ago. And I've got to send him that email to see what he says. Take care.